Hi there, this is the June 2026 changelog for all of Cartesia AI's API, products, and tools. You can find the full changelog at docs.cartesia.ai/changelog/2026. Hi, I'm Zubin, and I run DevRel at Cartesia. So let's start with something that many of our enterprise customers have been asking for. You can now do batch outbound calling, which means you can send up to 5,000 calls with a single API request. You can also control concurrency and how many outbound calls are batched at once. Failed calls retry automatically. You can also schedule batches ahead of time, and you get status tracking throughout. Now, this is important if you operate voice agents at scale for use cases such as follow-ups, outbound sales flows, appointment reminders, etc. Before this, you'd have to build all of that yourself. Queue management, retry logic, scheduling, that sort of stuff took expensive engineering time. Now our API just handles it for you. Okay, next, two features for our enterprise customers operating in regulated industries. First, you can enable zero data retention, so transcripts, audio recordings, and logs from agent calls are never stored on our servers. And second, you can use the call redaction API to delete transcripts or audio or logs for any specific call. Now, the call record, mainly metadata, itself will stay, but the sensitive content can be deleted. Now, a few weeks ago, we'd launched the Ink-2 ASR speech-to-text model, which artificial analysis declared was state-of-the-art. Ink-2 has built-in turn detection, so you don't need to add a voice activity detection (VAD) model to your pipeline. You just simply listen to the events emitted by Ink-2. Now, there are three thresholds that you can configure. Turn start, which is how quickly the model concludes that someone has begun speaking based on the likelihood that the user has started speaking. Then there's the turn end threshold, which is how the model decides that the user has completed their turn. The lower it is, the more the model waits for evidence that the user has truly finished. And finally, we have the eager end threshold, which is how the model assumes, how eagerly the model assumes whether the user has finished their turn or not. You want to increase it if you want the model to be more eager in concluding that the user has finished their turn. Now, this is very powerful functionality exposed via a pretty simple API, so I recommend you spend a few minutes on the turn detection guide over here. Professional voice clones are now available on Sonic 3.5 TTS model. Sonic 3.5 was the second SOTA model we launched a few weeks ago for TTS. Now it's also in the model that powers professional voice cloning, so that's how you can literally fine-tune Sonic 3.5 with a custom voice of your own. And speaking of TTS, we've updated the Cartesia Playground, so you can now test any sample rate from 8 kHz all the way up to 48 kHz directly in the TTS Playground before writing any code, and you can hear how voices sound at different sample rates. So this is important for use cases where your voice agent is connected to traditional telephony networks, which typically are 8 kHz. Go ahead and check this out at play.cartesia.ai. Oh, and while you're in the playground, check out another update. 10 of our most popular voices, including Brooke and Blake, are now multilingual, which means you can choose as many as 10 different languages that they can support with native sounding accents, which is a real positive for those of you who serve global audiences and want to do so with a consistent voice, especially a voice that your users have come to know and trust. Okay, and finally, Cartesia voice agents can now access knowledge bases for RAG, retrieval augmented generation, during calls. So you can upload docs and FAQs, pricing guides, product documentation, inventory catalogs, whatever, and the agent can reference them during live calls. This means you don't have to hard code domain-specific information into your system prompt and make it all bloated. Instead, you just upload the files into folders that become your knowledge base and directly connect that to your agent so that it can read from it at runtime. I recommend you check out the knowledge bases guide for that here. Okay, so that's the changelog for June, and if you've got any questions, just reach out to any of us on LinkedIn or Twitter/X, or just ask in our subreddit, which is here at r/Cartesia AI, just one word. See you next time.